Hi, everyone. My name is Ben, and I am the curator of the films for this year's Translations Festival and specifically the Bittersweet panel. I was the one who picked these films, and they mean a lot to me because I think that the queer experience can be so bitter and sweet sometimes that I wanted to combine those things so that people don't get just one side of the spectrum and just remember that there's always hope around every corner. The films that are in this film block, I think, very much speak to this theme. And today we're going to get to talk with some of the amazing filmmakers that made these films possible and blessed us all with them. So, without further ado, I would love to just have them come on and introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Yen, my pronouns are they, them, and I am producer and director of Love Me, along with Nick here.
Hello, my name's Nick. Use he, they pronouns. I am the co-director, producer of Love Me. And Yen, you're also the star of Love Me. So a star, one of the co-leads. So very multifaceted artist over here.
Truly, I was gonna ask, like, oh, like, weren't you in the film? So that's so cool that we get to ask like questions, get to like kind of get to shift both like from an actor's perspective and the director's perspective. So I'm super excited to start answering these questions today. And you already kind of talked about the film, but since you both like curated it, I would love to kind of hear what it's about from both of you, like what you kind of feel like it's about.
Yeah, so for me, it's just based on, my experiences as being, asexual, aromantic, and I just wanted to, create like a comedic short where not everyone wants to have like a romantic or sexual relationships. And just kind of like what you said earlier, been like, our stories are very dimensional and has a full spectrum, and it's not always going to be like the typical sob tragic story, right? And so I felt like Bittersweet just really accurately described Love Me, because I purposely wanted to make my story be a comedic because, queerness is so much more than like our struggles, our oppression, like our marginalizations. Yes, they do heavily impact our experiences and our perspective on the world. But at the same time, like we are so much more than that. And, we are resilient and we thrive way beyond.
Well said, Yen. For me, Yen and I started collaborating on this project through a program in Outfest called Outset, a young filmmakers program. And Yen's story really drew my eye. Yen was like the creator of this story, and just echoing everything that Yen said. I really wanted to create a film that was beyond trauma and also just like celebrated the all the different folks within the LGBTQIA plus community. So just really having that ability to showcase the variety of stories we have within this like fun, comedic, like very poppy short.
That is amazing. Thank you both for that. I mean, I enjoyed the film flat out. I mean, I thought it was really amazing. It was so unique. I knew I wanted it for this program because I just, again, like you said, it was such a perfect mix of like what people actually go through, and then this like crazy dramatic like comedic sort of thing, and it was just so interesting. And I mean, I loved the friendship that it was aspect there because I guess it was just something I hadn't seen before that I really needed to see. So thank you both for blessing us with that film. I guess I would ask, especially since you both worked on this film, I guess you already kind of talked about the progress, like the process for the whole thing. I'm not sure if you have the list of questions I kind of was thinking about, but I kind of want to take it up a little bit anyway. Um, and you said the inspiration was kind of your own experiences. And so I guess I would now ask when like you felt as a person instead of like a filmmaker, like when you felt seen by a filmmaker, like when somebody did what you have succeeded in doing and making other people feel seen. Like when was that experience? Like when was the first time you kind of recalled that experience for yourself?
Nick, do you want to go first? I still need to think of it.
I'm processing. I don't know if I can think of like the exact first moment, but you know, one that comes to mind, um, just like the film Pariah by Dee Rees just really touched me. I think coming from a family that is religious, it was always like a fear of mine to like have the effects of religion, like, and within my family, like affecting my ability to come out safely, just coming from, just a place where I was, abused, or I mean, like treated poorly for my queer identity in high school. So just a film that really showed that there's possibility for folks, um, queer folks, to like have a better life. And then that ending of that film, it really gives us that opportunity to see the potential. That's really what I'm about, is reimagining stories and creating stories that show us where we can go. So that film, it really, really speaks to me.
For me, there's so many, but like I also watch a lot of Asian dramas in Japan, China, and just when I see like a lot of like when it focuses around like same-sex relationships, these genres are called boys love or girls love instead of like gay or queer, and over there, like, it's still a long progress to go because they're a lot more conservative. They're not as open as here in the West. But it's just slowly kind of like seeing those like queerness that does exist in like Asia. It was like, wow. And it just goes back to how like for me, like growing up, like, my parents are immigrants. They immigrated here from Vietnam, and they live in that generational mindset that, oh, like homosexuality wasn't a thing in the past, or like there was never such a thing. And kind of like seeing that these queer stories and these Asian dramas now that are popping up, Taiwan, again, China, Japan, and I know Korea is also like starting to get there as well. It's kind of seeing, again, like both the intersectional identity of queerness and Asian identity, just seeing that, yeah, we exist. And it just goes back to stress the importance that, like, representation and seeing like people like you on screen is so important. And although I know it's being overstated over and over again, like so many of us wouldn't know who we are, like who we are today. I guess another, if I were to list a film in America, I have to go with the classic Mulan, the animated movie, because she's just a badass, right? And even based on like the historical, the actual history of it was that she went to war for 12 years, and supposedly people didn't know she was a woman at all until towards the end of the war, where the emperor wanted to award her, and she said no, like I just want to go back and like just take care of my father. And so it kind of goes back and like talks about how like quote unquote cross-dressing or like androgyny or gender nonconforming was a thing, like back in pre-colonial times. And so for me, growing up, Mulan, and still is always like the OG in my heart when it comes to like Disney movies. um I guess a recent one would be Pose, the TV shows. Of course, I'm not part of like the Black or brown community, but it was just being able to see like the origins of ballroom culture and how so much of the revolution like goes back to like Black and brown trans women. And I'm just so glad that that history is being shed to light.
Thank you so much for your responses. I really love how thoughtful both of you are. It really just makes it all like better. Like I'm sitting here like scared because I don't know what to ask next, because like I know like the question's gonna be like you're gonna just blow it out of the water. But I would like make y'all think, and I just kind of scratch the surface. And so I mean let's look at the thing. I mean you all really have a great like thing of where you're answering the questions I was going to ask like in the future anyway, just because you both are like such like wise people in my brain and my heart, just because you have a great grasp on like what you're doing and why you're here. And you know, what you want like people to see from your own film is kind of already what you've seen in other movies. So it's like that constant like cycle as a person who consumes art and also makes it. And so I really think that I next will ask, is there anybody in the film industry that is queer or otherwise that you just look up to for some reason? Like, I think that people can be so interesting, like just as interesting as like a fictional character that can really help you. And so I just was wondering if there was anybody that you were like, wow, like that is like they make great work, and I feel like I would love to have the type of impact at some point myself for any reason.
I think MJ Rodriguez really comes to mind. I really would love to work with her. I think she's an amazing performer, talented artist. Just seeing, you know, queer folks, queer BIPOC folks just excel. I'm like, let's continue that momentum. So any way to like get on, amplify, queer, trans, black and brown voices, like I'm here for. So yeah, that would be, I really look up to her. She's amazing.
Dana Nick. They stole it from me. Yeah, it's also for me. It's also MJ Rodriguez, and I got the privilege of being able to meet her at one of the Outfest Gala Legacy Awards. And she's just so. It was 2019, I believe. Yeah, I was an acting fellow for part of that program before I joined this film fellowship, and she was receiving the award for that year at Outfest. Gala Legacy Award. And, I got the chance to approach her and we talk. And it was, for me, it was just both of us understanding that we're not from this world of being upper class, queer, cisgender world, where like we just knew that we just both didn't belong. Right, because I felt out of place there just at the legacy where I was like, ooh, I feel like a server walking around now. But it was her encouragement. Like she says that we're at the front line, like we gotta keep going. And I've every time, like now that Post has such success, and I look at her success, like we don't have an excuse to say that, oh, we can't do this or whatever, because right now, especially with so much Black, brown, queer, trans artists, directors, writers, actors, they're really making it out there. And I feel like for the rest of us, we don't have an excuse to say, we can't do that, or like it's hard for us to do that, because they are the one who are really pioneering and like trailblazing right now.
That is like super amazing. First of all, that you just got to meet her and that you all like bonded over that experience, because that's so important to just realize that it's supposed to be like a community. It's supposed to be something that people are feeling supported in. Like we're not tearing each other down, we're bringing each other up so that, like you said, it can continue making waves and changing the world. And it really just kind of spoke to my next question, which would just be encouragement to any younger, otherwise filmmakers, what I'm saying, queer filmmakers who want to make a mark, and who might be struggling through their first film, or maybe they made some films and they just, what I'm saying, they find it hard to continue because it's like maybe no one cares. What would you tell them, like, whether it's like tips or some advice that you've been given, or just like what would you have to say to
Yeah, and you want to start off with that one?
Yeah. So what the question was, what advice would I give to other young filmmakers? Oh my God. uh, for me, I just felt nervous because I never knew that people would be interested in hearing my story. Even now I look back at Nick and I'm like, why did you want to help me make this again? Because like I just
Because
gave
it
this.
was good. I was like, yeah.
It was just a funny story. Like I just gave the script and they just read it quickly and they're like, "Yeah, let's do this." And I was like, "Wait, really? Are you sure?" For me, I struggle with writing because English isn't my first language, and so I still struggle with grammar and writing all that. And Nick here is an amazing writer, and yeah, I just never before I just assumed that people didn't want to work with me because my story is just different, my perspective is different, and my parents, they taught me that I need to just be independent and, you know, just worry about myself. But, with film is such a collaborative industry that you have to rely on other people. You have to work with other people. And so I just never thought that, not only would my story be made, but I would also get to act in it. My advice to, other young filmmakers like that were in similar positions like myself is that believe in your story and just know that opportunities will come. And for me, like even now I'm still like always anxious, like when's the next opportunity? I gotta grab it. And it's the anxiety is just never gonna go away. It's constantly just you working on your craft, believing your story, believing in your voice, and knowing that opportunities will come, and just kind of like trust the universe or the life force that things will fall into place. I mean, I'm still struggling to do that. Sometimes I'm still doubting and all that, but miracles do happen, opportunities do happen, and even I'm still processing it.
For me, I would definitely want to bring up the aspect of community within filmmaking. Um, you know, working on just any project is so much more fun when you do it with other people, and you know, with more voices you bring in, like new ideas may form. So just like the creative collaborative process within storytelling and filmmaking um, is going to make something possible through collaboration, right? Like Rome wasn't built in a day. Like a film takes so many different aspects, whether it be sound or visuals or performance. Like, um, true collaboration is how I think you can get films made. Just really find your tribe, um, really find the people who connect with your story, who believe in you, who are fun to work with, you know, who are excited about the work, because that's going to carry forward everything. You could be like the best of whatever you do, but if you don't really care about the project, then just it things fall short in that way. Um, and then another thing I would say, just like what sparked my filmmaking journey was, working with my friend Sephora Waldo. She would produced and directed a feature by herself, just not coming from film school or anything. And I was like a filmmaker just entering school, and just seeing her just believe in just finding a way to make something happen, even though it's like kind of crazy to just like, I'm going to make a film. Like it's a whole endeavor. But just that belief that it's possible, and just finding ways to make things possible is really, really key. Because when things get hard, like having that vision that it's still a possibility is going to keep you moving forward.
Amen. I really felt that. Like I really needed that. So thank you both. I know other people are gonna greatly appreciate everything that was said because it's so important. And I think that people don't talk about it enough. How you should keep going even when stuff gets hard. And so I guess my next question would be, what is your favorite part of the film? Because I mean, I remember watching it, I remember loving it, and I remember laughing and like being so emotional and like I loved it. And so I have a favorite part, but I want to know what y'all's are, since again y'all spend so much time in the world, and again you acted in it again, and so it's like like you were there. And so what's like your favorite part if you had to have one?
Yeah, and you go first. I can't think of it yet.
um for me, my favorite scene, I have two. One was after I slapped Tiffany's hand and I got the phone, and and I ran away. Hee that same laugh. Hopefully, I replicate it. Um, Nick at first didn't want to put in that shot because it was like we weren't able to really fully have a good shot of that, but I insist on keeping it because I was like, we need that, we need that kind of thing. That moment when Tan thinks that they won the battle, right? And then my second, I guess my second was like when they were watching the K-drama, and it was me just drinking like the beer. I don't drink, and so our set design just poured in like juice or something instead. And yeah, for me, I love juice. I don't like the taste of alcohol, so I get excited over fruit juice and stuff. So it was just the part where I'm like listening to her, just like, this bitch crazy. that moment in the film.
I would say my favorite part in the film was when they're watching TV as well. I really love the shot where it transitions. You know, it's a crossfade from Yen's face in one moment to them sitting on the couch. I just really love that that transition. So I would say, yeah, that couch scene is pretty fun.
That's great. I love to just hear people say parts of their projects because again, that type of stuff is what's going to keep you going as you're like creating it. And staying on the line of fun, I would love to just hear both of you, like in your own words, describe this film to like a 5-year-old. Like if you were trying to, if somebody like put their kid in front of you and were like, make my kid want to watch this. Like how would you describe it?
I think this is easy for me. You know, don't worry about cooties or crushes. If you want to play video games, if you want to watch cartoons, and that is your true love, do it. Because all the other kids who are worried about cute cooties and cuties and all these other crushes, they're boring. You got video games and cartoons. That's cool.
Well said. I don't know if I can top that yet. I think, dang, yeah, I'm just gonna let you. Yeah, that's their story. I'm gonna let them say that was the cherry right there.
Ooh, that was great. I love that. That was like a random question that was just like up the top of my head. So I'm really glad that was a great answer to that. My gosh. Woo. I'm not really sure how long like it's supposed to like all be, but I want to like continue with the question because like y'all have such great answers. And so I think that the next thing I will ask is, I guess, what you want people to take away from the film, because I think that explaining what the film is about, like, is almost a way to get like kind of the theme in there. But if you really were like asked, like you're being right now, just like what you would want somebody to take away from it, particularly somebody who was maybe like you again, like somebody who was searching for that representation, like what would you want them to take away from that? Yeah.
For me, I want people to take away is like let people live their life. You don't need to force anything on anyone. Just like let people be. Let them love what they love, who they love. Doesn't matter. Like just it's not that serious. You don't need to get involved in everyone's life.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that question, Ben. I think for me, like even during like the production, the pre-production, like the script writing, I want, people who are Arrow Ace or who are part of the community, who are on the spectrum, like me, to let them know that it's not your job to educate people. It's not your job to put in the emotional labor to have to explain and educate like why you identify this, or like what does these identity mean, or like how could you not like develop romantic or sexual attraction towards people. Like that's not your job. And for me, like when I was getting feedback on my script, like there were people who was like, yeah, no, I think you should like include the word asexual or aromantic in this. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point of the film. And I explicitly made sure that, you know, my characters, the dialogues doesn't have to say asexual or aromantic explicitly. Like even during Tan's monologue, it's like they don't need to like go on this whole lecture thing to Tiffany because it's not their job. You know, people have phones now. There's Google. If someone doesn't have access to Wi-Fi, you know, there's free resources like the library, books. I don't know if you all still know that books exist. That's how I discovered my sexuality. Yes, internet was the start of it. I did more research like with books. So yeah, I just want to remind like people who have similar identity as me, it's like it's not your job to have to educate and explain others.
That's so important. Thank you for saying that. And welcome, Halo. It's so great to have you. If you
Hi,
want,
I'm so sorry.
you're good. You're
This is
good.
like
Like,
trans life. I was called into work at the last minute, and I'm like, okay, this broke bitch got to take themselves to work. So calling in live from my job. How's it going,
ah,
everyone?
it's so great that you're here. We're so happy like that you could join us.
I'm happy to be here. How's everything going?
Really great. If you want, you could just like introduce yourself and then the film that you are the director and creator of, and then I'll get to ask him some questions.
Cool. My name's Halo. I use they, them pronouns. Trans non-binary. My film is called Pony. It is a film in which a late 90s genderqueer preteen embodies their true sexual and gender identities in the wake of a devastating family tragedy. That's my log line. I memorized it. Yeah. Anything else? What else should I say?
Honestly, that was great. I was like gonna come on here and just be like, "Wow, like you really did a great job of explaining that." Like I long to be able to explain my own projects that well. So I mean, that really sums it up really well, and leads me to all my questions because I really did love your film. And I mean, the second I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, this has to go in Bittersweet," because you weren't here when I explained that. But I really wanted this panel to be something where people could come and see these different like lenses of the queer experience in this lens that is not like tragic or like all like a monolithic. It's not something that is just like consistent. It's something that's random, like it's life, and life is bittersweet. And so I thought your film did a great job of displaying that. And so I guess my first question will kind of be a surface question because I loved the cinematography of your film. Like the shots, like the set of the house, like it just felt like I was in like the vibe. And so I guess I wanted to ask, like, if you had a hand in that, or if like if the locations had like a significance on your like film and where you like shot it at. And I would ask the same thing to Yin and Nicholas if you want to answer that too, because I think that the location of a film is like so important, and I love hearing about that personal connection that somebody can have with that.
Totally. Okay, so I actually love that you asked this because we put a lot of thought into that. So it's a period film, first of all. It's set in 1999. So me and my producer spent a lot of time looking at basically every Airbnb within like an hour of where we lived. And we were specifically looking in the kind of Bucks County area now outside of Philly because that's where we were based. And also like my producer lived there and they could cater it and all this stuff. And we just found this house and it just literally looked like it hadn't been touched since like 1997. And we were like, we must have it. So we got that. And then me and Mad Bishop's my cinematographer. This was the third project we worked on together. So we worked on 4 projects together and like we started building a working relationship like fully a year and a half before we shot Pony. And we started really looking at cinematography like maybe even 5 months before we actually got to set, and we were looking at a lot of references. So a big one was Jennifer Reeder, who made A Million Miles Away, Knives and Skin, which was really cool because I reached out to her during our fundraiser and she helped us plug it, and I was like, I love you. So we did that. We looked at like Bug Crush, which is this really wild sort of gay horror film from 2006, like a lot of Lauren Volkstein's work. She did The Strange Ones and was also my advisor at Temple. And we just did a really deep dive. So aesthetically, we were just trying to give this nostalgia feeling, but kind of off or dreamlike. And also we wanted there to be a journey where the house is like warm, but strange. like off, and then as they descend to the garage, it becomes like this magical fantasy world. And we tried to bring that forward in the cinematography, and also have the flashbacks feel cold because it's kind of a dark memory. And we talked a lot about like Pony. We were like, is Pony a ghost? Is Pony a memory? How do we show that? And we looked at a lot of like horror films. Like we call Pony a horror adjacent family drama. So that's the genre. Yeah, and the other thing, most importantly, was depicting dysphoria, because we're in the world of trans 2.0 filmmaking, and like a lot of stuff just hasn't been invented yet, and like there isn't really a standard visual language for dysphoria. So we were like, okay, dysphoria cam. So we were looking at like the horror film Braid, in which the main character is kind of having a psychiatric break. So that Todd Van Hazel, he was the DP for that. He was also the DP for Hustlers, that movie Hustlers, and a lot of Janelle Monáe's music videos. He like used 6 different looks for the 6 different psychological states that the characters were in. So he used different lenses, different ND filters, different colors to really show the psychological space that these characters were moving through. So when Zoe goes into dysphoria, we were like, okay, we're going to use an 18 millimeter, get up close, like distort the lens like this, change the color slightly, have the voices sound like they're far away. So it's that feeling of like when you're kind of dissociating, just to give a real sense of like this kid is having a really strong internal experience that's not being reflected by their external reality. And they're in a lot of somatic distress. So yeah. And then also like, I mean, bless Mad, they're also like having their own trans journey while filming it. There was a lot of stuff like that where like, our film is about like these two trans twins, and our editor and script supervisor was a trans identical twin. Our first AC was a trans twin who shared like basically 4 memories from the film. They were like, oh yeah, when I had my first kiss, I came out to the person that I kissed as trans and they ran away. Like it was like exactly the same. Or like my mom made me wear a dress and come into the living room. And then we had our trans DP that was having their own dysphoria awakening while trying to show dysphoria through this character. It was all very witchy. So yeah, we put a lot of thought into how it looks because it just felt really important to like convey that message in the film. And also in terms of the production design, we had this amazing trans production designer, Hutch Hutchinson. And something we talked about a lot is in a short film, you only have like 10, 15 minutes to tell a story. You have to bury a lot of story in production design. So we had photos on the fridge, we had the animation, we had 90s stuff in the background, like, a dad who's there but not, like, baby photos, like anything that we could do in the production design to do storytelling, to take it out of the scripts was like efficient for us. So I hope that answered your question. I feel like I'm just ranting, but cool. Yeah, Nicholas, do you want to say something about your movie?
Yeah, so I think the question, it was about the location, how it affected our
And
story. So we
cinematography, yeah.
and the cinematography. So we shot in my apartment I was living at the time in Petaluma. It was a really fast turnaround time from when we got greenlit and got, budget. So I was like, okay, like just from the constraints of financials, like we're shooting in my apartment, like what we y'all have free reigns to do whatever we want here, like it's all good. Like so we painted the walls and we just worked with our production designer Ara to like really take my looks like a very just like hetero cis male like apartment with just like nothing, like bare bones, like literally just like a couch, not even a lamp. There was no lamp, no light. So we had to like really just like completely dress it. There's nothing on the wall. So everything, like when I remember just like coming home from work and seeing like my apartment, I was like, oh wow, I don't live here. This is where the characters live. It was like a complete transformation that was awesome. Yeah. And then for the cinematography, our DP Alex Ajay, he hopped on this real fast, and we just like, because it was just a fast turnaround time from when we got greenlit, and we're like, okay, like let's just hash out this shot list and really get into the world. Yen and I were working on creating like visual mood boards to really illustrate the vibe we're going for. So that was a fun process Yen and I did to like connect with our other collaborators to create the story world. Yeah, Yen, do you want to speak about anything?
Oh man, Well, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I have a bunch of anime posters, and y'all can guess some of them were used in the film. I'm pretty sure, like, oh yeah, these two right here, the My Hero Academia and the Haikyuu poster, our set designer put it on the your bedroom door, Nick, for that one. I remember specifically, and a bunch of my stuffed animals as well. And you adding on to what you said, Nick, when you didn't even have a lamp, I'm still like laughing now that you mentioned it. Uh, yeah, it was like the night before like production shoot. Like me, Nick, our set designer, we were just running to Target, grabbing a lamp and other stuff. And me, I'm just sitting in the car as like Nick is like pushing. So yeah, filmmaking, y'all.
That's such
Thank
a
y'all.
mood. Filmmaking, y'all. I'm just like
Please, okay.
independent filmmaking. It's a journey.
I love that. I love that you all like understand the language, and I had no problem talking about like the fun stuff. And like I love that because people need to hear that. Like independent filmmaking is a vibe. And so I guess I would ask next. You already kind of talked about it again as far as like inspiration for the film. But I would just love to hear again from every one of y'all, like if there was something that was sort of like a spark in you that kind of really got you going. Because again, you talked about like mood boards, Nicholas. Like I love me a mood board. Like people like make stuff like that very often, especially when we're talking about visuals, because it just helps people to know what to kind of go off of. I think that whether it's an inspiration of spark from like the type of the comedy aspect of the film or the coming of age aspect of your film Halo, like whatever like that spark is, like where that come from for you.
Okay, real talk. I was raised in a house with ghosts, and like, I'm just telling you, ghosts are real. You don't have to believe me, but it's freaking true. And so I started writing the script. I was in grad school, and I had been like, I'm gonna make queer science fiction. I got there. I made a queer sci-fi film that kind of was hard, maybe failed, unclear. And I was like, oh, I actually just need to understand narrative, and I need to do something for my own backyard. So I was like, okay, a kid in the late 90s has a sibling and they're living in a haunted house full of ghosts, and it helps them to have their coming of age thing. And then I was like, oh, it needs to be more personal. Like, like I just was like, I want it to have more of a personal experience. And then I had this feeling that the kids were twins. And then I was like, because me and my sister share a birthday. We're not twins, but we're born 3 years apart. And then I was like, okay, it needs to be more personal. And then I was like, oh, like what if this one twin died and is the ghost, and like only the main character can see them. So that's kind of where that started in terms of that. And then I was really just thinking a lot about like, I don't know, like the youth. You guys, I'm like 34. I see these 18-year-olds that are like, I came out late. All my friends came out at 14. And I'm just like, damn, like you have TikTok. We had nothing. We had Katie Lang, you know, who I think is like, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like trans was not like, it was like Thomas the Tank Engine or something. Like we had absolutely nothing. Like My Little Pony was probably the trans. So this thing of like the genius of a small child to find trans shit where there is none. So I was just really thinking about that when making this film. So those are some of my influences.
I can speak a little bit about like visual influences on this film. I was watching a lot of Insecure at the time, so a lot of like the framing and composition was I was trying to within the constraints of our budget because we don't have that HBO budget. Try and get into like the world of like a friendship, like a roommate relationship, kind of like that's similar to like Insecure with Molly and Issa. So I was just trying to like establish shots that like could illustrate that in a fun way. And yeah, and I think you have a lot more on the backgrounds of the visual like story world you want to talk about.
I mean, I feel like I don't even need to say, like, y'all see my room here. Like, I have, like, my figurines here. And that little cat lamp right there, I stole it from production. I really loved it. It was in the film, and our set design bought it, and I was like, I need to have this. It lights up. It's like those cute little cat. Yeah, like similar to what you said, Halo, like, yeah, they have TikTok.
Like for real, these kids are like getting their PhDs in queer theory when they're like 10.
Yeah, no, like
it's insane.
Yeah, like in here, I minored in LGBTQ studies. Like I didn't really get educated until like college, right?
Yeah, and even then, I feel like it still took me many years after that to get it together.
Yeah,
no. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like mentioning earlier, like for me, it was books. It was like going to the library and getting books and researching. I don't know if like Gen Z still do that, like books. And I also mentioned earlier, Mulan was like my shit. Mulan, hands down, still will always be OG. So yeah, and in terms of inspiration, I think it's pretty obvious, like anime, gaming, Asian drama, just most of the ones that are like queer, and just letting people know that, yeah, like, like we're queer, we're here just vibing, in case, telling our cis heteros, like, yeah, we still exist if you haven't forgot.
Another reference was Scott Pilgrim, just like in terms of trying to build a world that was as animated as possible, through just the composition and shots and just like jumpiness. That was another reference, to like elevate the gaming aspect of the character, Tom.
Can you hear the loud construction sound behind me, or are we good? Sick. Okay. Behind me is fully a construction site. Love that. I just wanted to answer the mood board thing. I'm really obsessive, like collage person. I'm obsessed. Like my whole room is covered in pictures. I saw Yen's room. I was like, same, bro. So I made like a lot of mood boards. I had a cinematography mood board, a director mood board, a hair and makeup mood board, a costume. Like they're all lookbooks. I just make a million lookbooks when I'm researching and print stuff out and collage it and stick it together. One of my favorite filmmakers is Sergei Parajanov, who's this Armenian queer filmmaker from like the 60s and 70s, and like he would also make insane collages. And I'm like, and also Amir Kusturica, who did like Black Cat, White Cat. His film and Underground, all of his films just are packed with information. So I just try to make the film like a moving collage, and that's something that really inspires me. And then we were also looking at a lot of films from the mid to late 90s and also from now looking back. So things like Gummo, which came out in 1997, but then also I, Tonya, which is about that time period, but was made like in 2017, just to look at like, and Glow, right, was set in the 80s, but made recently. So like, what's the difference between a film that was actually made in the mid to late 90s, like Muriel's Wedding, Gummo, Kids, stuff like that, and then like, and then like a film like mid 90s that was made like a few years ago, but is made to look back then, and like trying to give a sense of like, yes, it's the 90s, but then the nostalgia's turned up, so it feels a little bit unreal, but that also never takes over the narrative. Because I think like a show like Stranger Things does that really well. Like it's fully nostalgia fest. It feels like more 80s than the 80s actually were, but the narrative still comes first,
Can I please just say I truly adore every single one of you, and your answers are amazing. Like I mean, I was super excited to just curate all these films because I love them, and so the honor of being able to talk to y'all and like hear the inspirations and all the dedication that went into making it what these films are now. And knowing that you all succeeded, like you exceeded any and all like of your own expectations as far as like I'm concerned, because I mean hearing like the inspirations and kind of where you got some stuff from, and like just being able to like look back at the film that you made and be like, yeah, they they did this, they succeeded in this, in like every way. It is truly an honor. And so my next question just has to be, what are y'all working on next, and how can we like find y'all on like social media or website or whatever, because we want to follow y'all, like especially me.
I can go first. My Instagram is halo.rossetti, Rossetti. You can find me on there. I have a website, halorossetti.com. Pony has a website, ponythefilm.com, and also an Instagram, ponythefilm. I finished grad school. I moved to LA. I completed the Circle of Confusion Fellowship last year, the Writers Discovery Fellowship. I got repped. I love my reps, Lawrence Mattis, Zach Cox, and Casey Manella. I'm having a lot of generals, and I've written a few pilots and a feature, and I'm trying to get stuffed in a writer's room. So that is what I'm trying to do. I also want to work on my first feature. I wrote a feature version of Pony, so that's just kicking around, which would be sick. So yeah, give me money. Love you guys.
I can go next. My Instagram is Nick Tejada, NICTHEJARA. Oh, pop up right there. Okay, on deck. And yeah, you can just see my work on my website. It's just my name.com. What am I working on? I just wrapped up post production and started festival submissions for a queer psychedelic short film set in Joshua Tree. So that is coming up. Hopefully, getting some cool festivals. I want to really show it, case it to queer BIPOC audiences. That's the audience that I want to uplift and just represent and showcase and celebrate. A story focused on queer joy with a little twist. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm working on right now. I just moved to LA myself, quit my 9 to 5, and trying to get
Let's hang
staffed in the
out.
writer's room. Yeah, super
Yes,
down.
let's
Let's
hang
definitely
out in
connect.
LA.
Wait, what part of LA are you in?
In East Los Feliz, like borderline of Silver Lake.
Okay, cool. That's where I'm actually looking at housing. So
Okay, cool.
this
We're
is
gonna
not
be
my. I do
neighbors.
not live. I do not live in this. I'm staying with my cousin right now in Inglewood. So,
Okay, so we're gonna be
yeah,
neighbors. We're gonna be in a writer's room together. Cool, 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 cool.
dope, dope, dope. Yeah. So just like working, I wrapped up that short, and I'm gonna go back to a feature I was working on that I completed in the pandemic, and just kind of get in the rewrite process. Yeah, so just in the story building process right now, just the writing phase is kind of like where I want to be entrenched in because I have time. I'm unemployed. Fun employment.
We love an unemployment. I was unemployed fully for like 8 months when I got here, and I was like, cool, guess I'll just write everything and apply to jobs and pray a lot.
Yeah, Nick worked on their film Out in Place while Love Me production was also going on. So I have no idea how they were doing it, like working on 2 films at the same time. Shout out to them. For me, I definitely do want to just continue acting because I'm primarily an actor. But when you're a minority, you kind of got to do multiple hats and got to do almost everything, right? So yeah, of course, like I would love to direct like other stuff, other projects. I do love to have like script ideas. Of course, again, I'm not a writer myself, but I would love to, still tell people, the world, like my perspective. But primarily, I would love to just right now like keep auditioning for roles and have those like queer BIPOC characters come to life and be on screen.
Well, that is so beautiful. I wish you all the best. You're gonna stay in my prayers, and I mean, I wish blessings to all of you. I really can't wait to see what you do next. I mean, I know it's gonna be great just because you already have blown us all out of the water and just taken the world by storm. So, I mean, I truly hope that you all enjoyed this panel and that everyone watching enjoyed this, and that you enjoyed the film festival to begin with. And I mean, I look forward to seeing y'all again soon at some point.
Absolutely. See you guys out there. Thanks so much, Ben.
Thank you so
Of
much. This
course,
was
yeah.
so fun.
Thank you so much.